Okay, we will go ahead and get started here so we can be respectful of everybody's time. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jamie Staten, and I'm the Family Engagement Specialist here at TRECA. And we're going to have a couple of different virtual open house topics that are that seem to be popular at the beginning of the school year, and the most families have questions about them. We will be recording this session, so you are aware, so we can send it out to those that were not able to attend the live session. We do have a pretty big group, so if you're not speaking, you will want to keep your microphone muted. We do have time for questions and answers throughout, so you can unmute your microphone at that time, or you can also put your questions in the chat box, whatever you're more comfortable with. But today we are going to be discussing checking and understanding student progress. And we have Mr. Daly here that's going to walk us through this topic. He is on our teaching staff, grades 7 to 12. So I will go ahead and turn it over to him at this time.
Thanks so much, Mrs. Staten. Yep, my name is Daniel Daly. I am a teacher at the high school. I've worked at TRECA for about 12 years, primarily teaching American government, economics, and the Vietnam War course elective. So hopefully I have some of your students someday. If I don't currently, I really enjoy working for TRECA and seeing your students learn and advance here in our school. Go ahead and switch to our next slide there, Mrs. Staten. And two really, really massive ideas that I will say to begin with, and then I will also reiterate at the very end. These are massive, huge. Whether you're brand new to TRECA this year or you're a returning family, two really big things to keep in mind. The first is that checking and understanding a student's progress is a collaborative and ongoing effort between students, learning partners, you guys, and TRECA staff. It's not just on our students, it's not just on you, it's not just on us, it's everyone working together. We all have that collaboration. We see so many students have successful years with achieving their academic goals. We can all work towards that as a team. The second idea is that asking questions or asking for help is always welcome and encouraged. I understand, especially if you're new to the online environment or new to TRECA, some of this stuff isn't perfectly intuitive. You know, it's new systems. There's 5 different logins. There's different classes, different teachers. What is a counselor? What's an advisor? You have so much to keep sorted out in between balancing your life, your student's academic life. I totally understand that. I have 2 students in school as well. So just keep in mind, we are all on the same team. Sometimes I think we do get students here at TRECA who may have came from a previous school where they had not a great relationship with that school or a teacher or administrator. Everyone here is on the same team. We want to move in the same direction, help your student. So that kind of goes back to idea number 1. It's that collaborate and answer everyone's questions as we go along. There's some resources here that we will look at the end. We'll revisit this slide. So when we get back to the slide at the end, we'll click through these 3 cool resources that are related to checking and understanding student progress. On our next slide, we'll see Brightspace. At your orientation for your TRECA student, you got logged into Brightspace. Brightspace is where TRECA students complete their work. It's essentially our school building. In your local school district, students walk into the building. At TRECA, they log into Brightspace. It's our school building where students can access all of their classes and see their grades, all that stuff that they would get in a brick and mortar school. By logging into Brightspace each day, students get attendance credit and access to their classes. As a learning partner, you are hopefully aware, and if you're not, we can help support you with this. Help you get signed into Brightspace with your student. This is something that's relevant whether you're parent of an elementary student or a senior in high school. As your learning partner, we want you to be aware that you should be checking progress at least once a week. I think if your student's new, if they're just starting at TRECA, a couple of times a week is really, really preferred until you get into the swing of things. Pick a day of the week to make it part of your routine. That way you know where your student is and how they're doing any day of the year. There's no waiting for a progress report or a report card in the mail. Brightspace is going to show you, and we'll see where to look for that. here in a second. Brightspace is going to show you exactly where they're at, grades they've earned, feedback from teachers, really, really simply for all of their classes. There are two ways to access a student's courses within Brightspace. There's icons, these little tiles under my courses, or Mrs. Staten, if you go to the next slide, call it like a waffle, these little nine little tiny squares at the upper part of the Brightspace homepage there. So clicking on either one of those areas will take you to student classes. On that view of the, we call it the waffle little drop down, we can see the classes. A cool feature that some students use is there's a little pin feature. It's really tiny, I'm not sure if you can see it, but off to the right there, there's little black colored pins. You can pin the classes that your students focusing on or just their core classes, and that way they're always at the top. Sometimes our students end up with some extra classes there. They might be things like our main office, or their school counselor shell, or something about pursuing a career. I like to see when sometimes students use that pinning feature to keep track of what they're working on right now, since we do give them a lot there. All right, so logging into Brightspace from your student's login will take you to that page you just looked at, and then you can select the class you want to view. When you click into a class, let's say we click on the economics class with that image on the left there. This is the same in any Brightspace class. You will see a news feed. The news feed is going to have relevant current information about that subject. If the teacher is out for the day, if there's an extra credit opportunity, if there's a new feature in the class, whatever it is, that news feed is where students can kind of keep an eye there and be aware of comings and goings of the class. Off to the right with the picture of me there, all classes have this nice little meet your teacher box where there's an image of your student's teacher, their contact information, phone, email, texting, Google Meet schedule, work hours. You can find all the information really easily just by clicking into the class, and it's right there in front of your face. Another key feature you can access would be the grades page. For checking student progress, you're going to be spending a good amount of time on that grades page. In the image on the right, it's circled in red at the very top there. Clicking on the grades page is going to give you a rundown of work that students have attempted so far. We go to the next slide, and we can see it's going to look like this. It's a little small in the image, I apologize, but it's a couple of columns where it shows you the grade the student earned. The right side has comments or feedback from the teacher or a rubric, and they're all should be very nicely labeled. Whether your student is in elementary school or in high school, it should tell us, what block that assignment was in. Was it the block 1, week 2 quiz that they scored a 70% on, or was it in block 8? It should be clearly labeled there, have a grade after they attempt it, or if there's no grade there, it means they haven't attempted it. So checking out this grades page is where I always send my parents for checking progress for American government, and where I think you can really get a great view of how your student's doing, where they're working, what grades they're earning, what their teacher's telling them. I think this is a really, really great place, and where we recommend you go first to check your student's progress. On the next slide is another example. I think this one might be from my class, actually, from American government. We want to note that courses are broken down into blocks. Something you'll probably start asking your students through the year is, hey, what block are you working in? Blocks are made up of 3 weeks of work. So every 3 weeks, your students finish a block. We'll look at an example of that here in a second. But we can see in this grade book view, the student is in block 3. So they have block 3, week 7, week 8, and week 9. And it looks like they have some low scores here. They have a 20% on a discussion item, a 30% on another discussion item. And they have some feedback about getting back to me about working back through those assignments. So again, as a parent, as a learning partner, you can check that and see what scores they're earning, where they're at, what block they're currently working in, just by going to that grades page for each of their classes. Each class in Brightspace would have its own grades page you can check out. So go ahead, we can advance to the next slide here. In order to finish all classes by the end of the school year, we want students to finish a block of work in every class, every 3 weeks. We had said a block is made up of 3 weeks of work. So weeks 1, 2, and 3 comprise block 1. Weeks 4, 5, and 6 equal block 2, and so on and so forth. If you're ever unsure if your student is making enough progress to finish by the end of the school year on time, please visit your advisor homeroom in Brightspace and contact your student's advisor. Or if you have an elementary student, their teacher. Just an example here that is relevant to the start of our school year here. Let's pretend we have a student named Grace. And Grace is in Algebra 1. She's a new student at TRECA this year and just started Algebra 1 at the beginning of our school year on August 19th. So that first week, which was actually last week, Grace should finish block 1, week 1. The second week, this week, Grace should finish block 1, week 2. Then the third week of the school year, Grace should finish block 1, week 3, and boom, block 1 is now finished. Grace is ready for block 2. So your student might be able to complete work at a faster pace. That's wonderful if they can. Something to keep in mind is that TRECA students and all online students in Ohio are accountable for working 5 hours and 10 minutes each school day. So if your student finishes their weekly work within that amount of time, they should continue forward. There shouldn't be anything that restricts them from continuing on in a class and earning that 5 hours and 10 minutes of instructional time that the state of Ohio and TRECA requires that they have. I do want to pause here. That's a ton. And I think we've already looked at something really, really important, which was the pathway to go to a class in Brightspace, click on the grades page, and then read that grades page. So I just want to pause for a second here, see if there's any questions about this process so far or about progress at TRECA. I'd love to answer those if you want to toss anything in the chat or unmute yourself on the microphone. Hey, what's going on?
Hi. Will you be going over the course page as you did the grade page? I'm more interested in the course page and understanding what needs to be done or what has been done.
The content page, is that what we're looking at?
Or yeah, excuse me, possibly.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do that at the very end after we stop our recording, because then I can share my screen and show you what we got going on there. Does that sound good? Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or things that we want to throw out there? It's a wonderful question. There's so much fun, some fun stuff, fun places to go in Brightspace. For learning partners, usually that grades page is where you're going to be spending most of your time. Hey,
we do have a question in the chat. Is the login for parents the same as the student information?
Wonderful question. For this example where we're checking the student's grades page, you are using the student's login. So this could be, hey, student, can you show me your grade? Can you log into Brightspace, show me your grades page for, your 5 classes that you're in, or, do it alongside them. There is, parent login specifically for our Evolve system, which is for attendance. We've just found that using that student login shows you a lot easier, a lot more at a glance, because again, you guys are so busy, so many obligations. If you use a student login alongside your student, go to that grades page, see exactly what they see. That's the most efficient way for you to view that information. So yes. Mark, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you'll be going over how the time spent within the blocks is counted.
Yes, so that's another one. Let's stash that one to the end. That's a wonderful question. And Mrs. Staten, do we have a specific open house about that topic? I know that's a popular one this time of the year. Or no?
I believe our next one is about the parent portal and logging time in Evolve.
Okay.
But we do have lots of information on that as well that we can send you.
Yeah, well, that's another one. We'll stop the recording, do a brief overview of what that looks like. So I talked to a couple of parents about that today with some government students. So I can do a quick run through that and then also advertise that at our future open house session. I think they'll go over that more in depth. So we will go over the content page and some time tracking within Brightspace at the end here. Wonderful questions, guys. Thank you so much. I do this every year. I never get questions. So thank you guys so much for participating. Cool. So let's head on here. We'll do more questions at the end. And I'm from the high school world, so this particular slide is mostly about high schoolers, maybe middle schooler. If you're an elementary, parent, this is less relevant to you. But some students in high school come to TRECA and have specific goals that they've set for themselves for the school year. Their day-to-day progress in class, their day-to-day progress will set them up to be successful. So just some examples of students that we pretty regularly see here at TRECA. Being an online school, we do attract students at the high school level who have unique circumstances at home or certain barriers that they need help overcoming, and the online environment is best for them. So example might be Alexander. Alexander joined TRECA this year and should be a senior. However, at his previous school, Alexander failed several classes and is still a junior. He has set a goal to graduate this year, but will need to complete more than a traditional year of schoolwork. So for this student, when we looked at that pace of, hey, complete a block of work every 3 weeks, well, for Alexander, he's going to need to go a little bit faster than that to get where he wants to be. That's a situation where, at the bottom of that bottom paragraph, he needs to work with his advisors, work with his teachers. Let us know that in August or September, not wait until April or May to broadcast that goal. Another example might be Terry. Terry joined TRECA and is taking several college classes through the College Credit Plus program, as well as several classes through TRECA. We see this a fair amount where students are taking advantage of some college opportunities and enrolling at TRECA, and that creates a pretty hectic schedule for them. So they really need help balancing those college level classes and their high school requirements they take through us. So again, work with their teachers, advisors, let us know what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, what their schedule looks like. Finally, Allie is returning to TRECA after a very successful and productive junior year and wishes to try and graduate early. All these students and their learning partners can work with their advisor teachers. So whether you have a student at the high school level who maybe is coming in behind or is looking to get ahead, or even if they're right exactly smack dab where ideally they should be, let us know what your goals for the year are. That can go to the advisor, the teachers, everyone, just let us know. We love to know what you're working towards and how we can help get you there. So go ahead. I mentioned the word advisors a few times here. Advisors at the middle school and high school level, not elementary right now, students are assigned an academic advisor. The advisor has a great overview of all the student classes and can help support students and learning partners with setting work progress goals or providing a detailed overview of the student's work so far that year. Through the year, the advisor will call or email you for progress updates. If you have a student who's at middle school, high school, you should have heard from the advisor by now, that welcoming week back, I'd imagine. My role as a content American government teacher would be to support your student with American government. I don't really know what's going on in their biology class or geometry class or English 3 class. I don't know. The advisor is the person who's going to give you the best support for, hey, we need to know what we need to do across all of these classes to get to this goal by June or whenever it may be. So the advisor has a homeroom. If you go to your students' little drop-down course list, it's called like their last name, homeroom, and you can click in it, see some resources that might be helpful to the student, might be helpful to you about checking progress, navigating TRECA, that kind of thing. Our advisors are really, really spectacular folks. So take advantage of talking to them and working with them through the year and encourage your student to be in touch with them. Our next slide here at the elementary level, didn't forget about you guys. At the elementary level, the teachers for each grade, for kindergarten, first grade, second grade, all that, the teacher kind of serves as the advisor. So the teacher is serving both as that content delivery, lessons, meetings, as well as that general progress of this is what your student needs to do to catch up or get where they need to be. They'll also contact you through the year about your students' progress in learning. Every year, TRECA will send home a printed and mailed progress report to your home. This usually goes home in late January when we're about halfway through the school year. There's room for a little comment for the teacher. That's not a lot of room, but we can leave a small comment. And most of the information on that progress report actually comes right from the Brightspace grades page. So if you've been checking the Brightspace grades page, that mailed progress report won't be a surprise. But definitely, we want to emphasize we don't want to wait just for the progress report to know what's going on with the student's academics. We want to be frequently checking that grades page, interacting with staff, advisors, remembering that we're on the same team and we can always ask questions. The progress report has like the percent completed, what block they should be in. So it's a good thing to look at, a good document, but it's not like it's something that we can also be aware of through the year leading up to those actually getting mailed to your home address. I did talk to advisors, that group of folks at the middle and high school level. I'm certain that the elementary teachers would agree with these tips too. I asked them what their kind of top tips were for learning partners for you guys. They said to know who each staff member supporting your student at TRECA is. So who's their teacher, their advisor, their counselor. The counselor is the person who kind of schedules their classes, knows what their graduation requirements are, etc., and how they support your student. I know that can get confusing, especially when you're new. You have so many names emailing you, calling you, but it's kind of let's work to learn who each of those people are and how they're trying to work with your student. Don't hesitate to reach out early and often at the start of the school year. You guys are doing just that. You're here. You're awesome. Or you're watching the recording. Thank you so much for that. That is really awesome that you've chosen to engage here and help learn more about how our systems work. We really thank you for that. We don't want to wait until paper progress reports comes home. We want to be proactive and working as a team. Advisors have said to check your email spam folder a couple of times through the year. Just make sure nothing gets lost there. I don't think anything really ever does, but you never know depending on your email or how an email might be worded. Once in a great while, something might get lost there. You can add TRECA's school phone number to your contacts. We're 888-828-4798, and then the extension of whoever is calling you. I never pick up my phone if I don't know who it is. I don't know if anyone else is like that too. But if you see that number, it's someone from TRECA or it's an automated TRECA phone call telling you something about your student or about our school. If your high school student has a special goal for the year, communicate that early in the year as they enroll. And then finally, ensure that all of your contact information is up to date in the Evolve portal. Our next open house session is actually about the Evolve portal, I believe, or one of the next sessions is about the Evolve portal. So that's how we know what your phone number is, what your email is. If you move, what your new address is, that's where all that kind of information is documented. Our next final tip here would be keeping a block calendar or keeping track of your students' progress, maybe the old-fashioned way with a piece of paper or a notebook. In your students' advisor's homeroom or in their elementary teacher's syllabus block should be a student calendar. If you can't find this, reach out and ask. It kind of just tells you if your students started the school year with us at the traditional time of 8/19, August 19th, when would they want to be done with block 1? When would they want to be done with block 2? So on and so forth, as well as our student breaks and day off. So keep in mind, like it says at the bottom there, student schoolwork is available 24/7. Instructors might not be, they might have to email or leave a message if it's way after hours. But this kind of view is really nice to be able to pace a student through the year if they start at that traditional time of August 19th. If they start our school at a different time, if they enroll in a class in January, we can help draw up a new one of these with the new updated dates if your student needs that. So back to our two massive ideas. You guys remember them. Checking, understanding the student's progress is collaborative between students, learning partners, TRECA staff, and always ask questions. As the government teacher, one of the government teachers, I've gotten a lot of questions already from parents because, like I said, this stuff is not just intuitive that you would know off the top of your head. You need to work together with us. We need to work with you and your student to make sure everyone knows the best way to support them. So emphasize to your students, we're on the same team. We want them to have success. We want to work with them and we'll have a great school year. The final slide I have here are those resources. Mrs. Staten, I don't know if you want to click them open real quick if you're able to. I can show what they are. Not sure if you're able to, or I can screen share. Our first one is our TRECA.org help desk website. Our help desk is awesome. If you're ever having trouble with, let's say, a hotspot, if you're having trouble with, a computer not turning on, not charging, our help desk is who you're going to go to. And they also have extensive support documents about how to navigate Brightspace, Evolve, check progress, the questions about logging time that's done outside of Brightspace. That's all here. It's really well documented. So if you're someone who likes step sheets, this is a good place for you to go. So that's TRECA.org/support. Our next one we have is the specific support website for checking your grades and progress. It's literally the same thing that I just went through on this video, on this call, but instead it's in nice spreadsheet form. So you don't have to listen to me again if you want a refresher. You can watch the recording, but it does simply show you how to get to a class, how to get to the grades page. Look at that grades page. Okay, it's there. You can see what block your students in, how they're doing, see the grades. It's all there for you, really nice and neatly laid out. And then finally, our final resource there might be a really good one for your students. TRECA has a series of videos they've put out over the past few years called Barrier Busters, because, starting an online school as a student, as a learning partner is a barrier. There's a lot that goes into it. So we want to break down those barriers. And some of these videos just go over really common topics about monitoring progress. I think Mrs. Monin does this one. She's one of our English language learner teachers. We have a couple others in the playlist. You can see there about like creating a schedule, about some of the resources available at TRECA. So those Barrier Buster videos get posted through the year for students. And again, that's a really nice way for students just to get a quick 2 or 3 minute overview, because I guarantee they're not patient like you guys to watch 30 minutes of me talking about this subject. So those are really, really nice resources you can view as well. Yeah, that is all I had. Before we get to questions, Mrs. Staten, did you want to do your final slide there with the form so people can start filling that out if they want to?